Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to the Herstory Online Summit. This is Gertrude Macha here in beautiful Melbourne, Australia. And I would like to start off the day with our acknowledgement to the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia and their connections to land, sea, and community. We pay our respects to their elders, past, present, and emerging, and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people today. So today is day 18 of the Herstory Online Summit. We have been going for 18 days. This is a 31-day challenge where we are bringing on stories from people from all over the world. Yesterday was an interesting morning. We had two gentlemen coming in from Canada and the US. So just so you know, our platform does allow men to come and speak. So thank you, Rory and Brett, for gracing us with your presence yesterday. 25% of our speakers are male. So we're going to start the morning with two amazing young women. Ginny Fears and Laura Haydett are the co-authors of Ellie Synergy, a resource for online-based businesses that empower skilled entrepreneurs to build and scale their businesses with the power of Instagram. The pair were connected on Instagram after being furloughed from their corporate jobs in 2020, and together they started their Instagram marketing and coaching business in less than a year. Ginny Fears is a French transplant in the UK and has a bachelor in psychology and a master's degree in marketing. And she worked as a product marketing manager and digital marketing manager for the past 10 years. Laura Haylett is an award-winning Belgian marketer with an MBA and over 5 years experience in the corporate world. The pair built a thriving online coaching business in 2020, making over 10,000 K per month within the first 3 months through Instagram alone, before deciding to combine their forces and create Ellie Synergy. In just under 3 months, when they joined forces, they generated over $450,000 in sales, helping online service providers to build their businesses. So we're going to start off with that video this morning. Thank you, ladies, so much for sharing your stories. Very, very inspiring to see what's possible when women collaborate. I think this is something we all need to learn from.
I'm French, but I'm known as Ginny Fears on Instagram.
So I'm Laura Haylett. My name on Instagram is actually my real name because I have a very difficult last name, so I'm doing a lot of education around that. It's Hayley DT.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Herstory TV. This is Gertrude Macha here in beautiful Wellington, New Zealand. And I am graced with the presence of two amazing young ladies coming to us from different parts of the world for a change. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Please tell everybody your full names, where you're based, how old you are, and share your story with us today.
Sure. So my official name is a little bit different because I'm Virginie Beauguillaume. I'm French, but I'm known as Ginny Fears on Instagram. So yeah, I'm French, but I live in England, and I'm going to tell you a little bit more about my story. So I've been working in corporate for the last 10 years in marketing and business, and I love my job. I love marketing so much, but I always hated corporate. I always felt stuck. I always felt, I could achieve bigger in the world, basically, and I felt like I wasn't really listened to. There's always your boss, and your boss has a boss, and then it's always hard to have someone hearing your ideas. So that's when I decided, I was like, enough is enough. I need to really find something to do, because I was always a side hustler, but never really took the courage to, put myself out there. And the lockdown hit in Europe anyway, and Laura and I have been put on furlough. So meaning that, we had to leave our job and stay at home. So I was like, you know what? Cool. I'm going to be able to open my own business. So I started sharing on Instagram, as simple as that. I was like, I don't care where it takes me. I'm just going to start sharing about what I know. So Instagram, social media, marketing, digital marketing, and it took off. So yeah, eventually I, just applied the strategy that I've learned the past 10 years, and I grew my audience. I found a few clients. I started consulting, so coaching, consulting in marketing and Instagram especially, and helping other businesses, so small businesses, to really use Instagram properly to make themselves known, find some clients, grow on Instagram, and so on. And eventually in July, I was able to quit my job. So finally, that was kind of a dream coming true. And eventually I met Laura and we started talking and created another business together, L Synergy. So that's for me anyway.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Laura, what's your story?
Hello, everyone. So I'm Laura Haley. My name on Instagram is actually my real name because I have a very difficult last name. So I'm doing a lot of education around that. It's Haley BT. And I'm 26. I'm from Brussels, Belgium. I traveled a bit. So I actually also used to live in Paris, and then I lived in the US before. And for me, my career started actually in startup back in Paris. In a digital agency, which was very typical startup environment, doing business development, but I always kind of went to marketing to make that more interesting. And then afterwards I moved back to Belgium, and I had a typical corporate job as a brand and trade marketing manager for 4 global beer brands, and I was managing them for Belgium and Luxembourg. I actually, unlike Ginny, I really liked corporate. I actually really enjoyed the job. I didn't really have an issue with the structure. Like, I was actually thriving in there, very happy. Had sort of my career pretty much figured out because I was going to have like this international career. I was already in touch with the headquarters to move around and all of that. But then lockdown hit. I was put on furlough because, well, beer brands were very much linked, obviously, to events, bars, restaurants, and all of that being open. So it was a pretty logical decision. But for me, that was quite difficult because I was so tied to my job that when that fell away, I was like, what do I do now? I was very lost. And in the beginning, I was a bit lost and I wasn't sure what to do with myself. And then I thought, you know what, I'm going to keep myself busy. I'm going to work on my personal development. And then I stumbled on this whole online business role. And I saw people are making money off their knowledge. They're helping people thrive. So it's very personal and very rewarding. But on top of that, they have location freedom, they have financial freedom, maybe even if their business goes well. So I was quite intrigued, and that's when I was like, you know what, I'm going to give this a try. I started coaching a few female entrepreneurs, also just like Ginny, with Instagram marketing and building their personal brand and all of that. And that actually went really well. And that's when I realized, oh, wow, what I actually know from corporate and my studies and stuff is actually useful. I can actually help people in this area. And then, from one thing came another. Business scaled quite quickly. Both Gina and I are coaching businesses. Actually, we scaled to $10,000 a month within 5 months of starting. So it actually really went quite quickly. Instagram started growing well. But what I didn't say is that actually, when we were on furlough, Ginny and I already started talking to each other. We found each other on social media. We connected on Instagram. And we were in the same position. We were both had a corporate background, had a degree, that was very relevant to marketing and all of that. And then wasn't sure what to do. And we were starting our business. So we were all the time in touch and like kind of coaching each other along the way on how to grow this business. And then indeed, so our separate businesses scaled, but we were in a way kind of colleagues, if that makes sense, in the same niche. And then in October 2020, we were like, who are we kidding? We're building the same exact business, but just duplicating the work. We might as well join forces and do this at a bigger scale and help more people at once. And that's when L Synergy was born. Initially, we were focused on, very much female entrepreneurship, building and scaling with the power of Instagram. And right now, I would say that we broadened up a bit. So we help mainly all service entrepreneurs, male and women. We do have a very female audience, obviously, because we're two, women, so we attract more women. And we indeed help them build and scale their business with Instagram. But we're also now moving more towards helping them just build an online business through passive income and all of that. So yeah, that's a bit about us, our story, and how it all came together.
It's absolutely amazing to watch what is happening with this COVID crisis. There are people who are being really hard hit, finding it difficult to pivot. And then there's people like you who see the opportunity, and you guys seem to have just jumped on it and created something absolutely magical in two different parts of the world. So what do you think is the source to your success? You must either complement each other's weaknesses. Let's talk a little bit about going into partnership with someone and how that works.
Go ahead, Laura.
Okay. Yeah, I think a big part of our success, when just us as a duo, first of all, would be we have like maybe a bit about our background. So Ginny actually has a bachelor in psychology and a master's in marketing, and I have an MBA. So if you take those degrees already from a marketing and building businesses point of view, that's a very strong sort of background academically. Then obviously combined, we have 15 years corporate experience, corporate, global brands, startup even. So it's quite a good mix. So we do, when we come together, it's kind of like this massive, knowledge sharing. And we see that in our industry. I think a lot of people obviously teach Instagram. A lot of people teach people how to bring their business online, but not that many people actually come from the traditional marketing background and implement that into this new world. So I would really say that we brought like something new into this world, where we always go back to business strategy, business foundations, like obviously because that's our background, but that's very powerful to actually come up with proven systems and actually get a lot of successes for our clients. It's not like, hey, everyone's doing this, let's do the same. We look at the industry, we're like, nah, I think this doesn't make sense. And if you really look at this business case, I think this can be better. Like we're a bit acting like a consultant in that way, and then changing things around, coming up with our own frameworks. And obviously it's been super successful, and that's how obviously the business has been able to thrive so well. And then on a more personal level, Ginny and I are indeed very complementary. I mean, there's a reason that we connected and we kept coaching each other. We have different personalities. We have a different tone of voice. We each have our strong, I mean, we're obviously both marketing girls, but even within marketing, Ginny's stronger at branding. I'll be a bit more organized and think a bit more about like the day-to-day of the business and the operations. Like we're very complementary in how we like manage the business together, which makes it very fun. And as other, business owners will know, building a business is still hard, and it is nice to have a partner that you can rely on and have shared responsibilities and enjoy this journey with, because not that many people in our environment actually understand what we're doing and understand the full journey that we're on. So
that's
Ginny,
awesome. So Ginny, take me through a process. Somebody new comes to you. They are wanting to know how to get online, how to get their product, their ideas out there. Take me through a step-by-step process on what you would do to help someone new in your business.
Sure. So we actually it took us some time, but we put a process in place. We call it the BCC method, actually. So first, we always start with the business foundations, because a lot of people don't realize, often people come on social media and they think they need to understand social media per se, but really they don't. They need to understand business first and foremost. And what comes social media comes much later. And it's like, we call it the cherry on top, right? So it always starts with the business foundations, that like someone needs to really understand, your niche and the market that you're in and your competitors and what makes you stand out and what makes you different and your branding overall. Like all that is going to be such a game changer for, for differentiating yourself online and to making sure that you're going in the right direction and you have like those solid foundations. And really doing as well market research, talking to your ideal clients, getting to know these people very, very well. Often people talk about demographics. We really talk about, their goals and their problems and their fears and the way they talk and so on. So really making them go through this first and foremost, and that can take some time. And then the next phase called the C. So that's when we talk about the content strategy when it comes to Instagram, because again, we focus on Instagram. So we're really helping them to put a strategy in place and not just like, oh, what time are you going to post? Or am I going to post a picture of myself? No, there's a strategy based on a business foundation. So it's really like, okay, now we taught you this. The next step is to put a strategy in place, knowing what kind of content you're going to create, whether it's educational, inspirational, whether it speak to, what kind of language do they speak your ideal clients. So really talking them through this. And eventually the conversion. So really understanding, okay, now we built some visibility, we building trust with your ideal clients on the platform through, again, this content strategy. Eventually, we're going to learn how to convert these people, because in order to convert, you need all the before. So once you have this trust, once you have, you educate your ideal clients, you really nurture them on the platform, you're going to convert them. So really understanding the sales process, a bit more of a sales psychology, and really trying to sell without feeling sleazy or pushy. There's other ways to learn how to sell. So that's basically what we're helping them through. That's our process.
That's fascinating. Now, Instagram tends to attract the younger demographic. Am I correct? I know people of an older demographic are mostly on LinkedIn. They're mostly on Facebook. So are you girls attracting the younger generation, or are you servicing businesses on both sides?
I think we have a very mixed. Yeah, go ahead, Jenny.
No, I was going to say the same. I think we have a very mixed thing. I think, it's the same thing. Like Facebook used to be only 17 years old. People, I was 17 because I was 17 when I joined Facebook. But then progressively, these people moved to Instagram, and then it was the older generation to stay on Facebook. And now the very young generations are now on TikTok. So I think that the demographic is really progressively evolving, and there's more and more older generations who are on Instagram. So ours is very mixed. I think Instagram is still there to have anyone, because even people on TikTok still stay on Instagram, because it's easier to create this kind of like really relationship with your ideal client. It's much easier to convert on Instagram than any other platform. But I generally think that, we attract all kind of demographics, from, I would say, probably early 20s to even we have some clients who are in their 50s, even because they need help, because they're struggling a little bit more with Instagram and all that. So they still need help to know how to build their business, basically.
Laura, do you have anything to add to that?
No, I mean, the only thing I would add is actually I used to be very active on LinkedIn. So I have actually a bit of an audience on LinkedIn. And surprisingly, all those people also follow me on Instagram. So
Okay.
I genuinely do think Instagram, I mean, even just thinking of my parents are so active on Instagram, and they're indeed like 60, So I generally do think that's changing a lot. Like Jeannie said, Instagram is becoming quite mainstream, as in like so many people are on it.
Yeah. Okay, so we're now in a new world. The world will never quite go back to what it used to be. What 3 pieces of advice would you give anyone in business right now who hasn't been using social media actively, Instagram, to get their message out and to build their brands?
Okay, maybe I'll go first and we do one each. Then you have time to think when you're answering. That's a good thing about having a team, right? You can take turns.
Yes.
The first thing that I'm thinking of is actually be prepared to pivot and adapt. And that's something that we also see with our own clients in our program. So, for example, Ginny talks about those business foundations. A lot of people nail down their business foundations and then think they should never change that. But the thing with a good business, and that's actually a typical startup mindset, is that you always need to iterate in order to become indeed better. I mean, what works today is not going to work tomorrow. Simple as that. On social media, things change every single day. So even if you have that perfect strategy that works today, it might not work anymore tomorrow. So you have to keep your ears open. You have to analyze. You have to iterate and always kind of challenge yourself to change. And there's a beauty about social media is that it is so agile and you can have so much feedback. So in that way, I would really say as a business, keep your ears open and keep challenging yourself to update things, even if it's about your business foundations that you think are set in stone. No, they shouldn't. They should still be flexible and adapt based on what's necessary.
Very nice. So you should be constantly evolving and keeping your ear to the ground as the new things that are coming. Jeannie, what do you have to add to that?
I would say another thing that we see often entrepreneurs is that they expect results overnight. So they often compare themselves to someone who's much further ahead than them and be like, damn, I'm not as successful. No, look at where you were at yesterday and really stop comparing yourself to other people and really take the time. Like when I decided to go on Instagram, I was like, I'm giving myself a year to find just one client, a year, not a month. So we have a lot of people who expect the world in 3 months, because they see overnight success. The overnight success, first of all, is rarely overnight success. There's a lot of work that we don't see. And it's very rare. Like even ourselves with Laura, we consider ourselves lucky in a way. Obviously the card has to align at some point, even though we had worked a lot. It's not normal to have that much success so quickly. So really stop comparing yourself to others who have a lot of success and give yourself enough time to make it work. Because your biggest, the worst that can happen is that you give up, as simple as that. If you don't give up, you will make it happen.
That's nice. That's a really nice attitude to have.
Yeah.
So where do you girls see yourselves in the future? 5 years from now, 10 years from now, where is this business going? What's the vision that you've crafted?
Doing a lot more of this, that's our goal. Yeah, I think Ginny and I definitely are now getting to the stage in the business where we want to step into our founder role and really be, both indeed maybe the face of the company. So obviously work on our personal brands, put our name out there, have more interviews, focus on all of this, write a book, maybe do TED Talks, all these kind of big dreams that we do have. Because at this point, like we've kind of been hustling, I would say, for a year to really build up this business because it is still a lot of hard work. Like Ginny said, it might seem like an overnight success, but we did work hard to get to this point. And now we start hiring a lot of people. So we're really building our team to manage the day-to-day so we can step into that founder role to really focus on a strategy, plan ahead, focus on new projects, and really scale it to that next level. So in a couple of years, even a lot more of this and making sure that the business also runs without us. Of course, we're in the business, but a bit less in the operational side, and obviously create a lot more jobs and scale the team.
That sounds awesome. Wow. Well, thank you both so much for coming online today. Have I missed any question that I should have asked you?
Oh, not really.
Good question. I'm speechless.
Good. That means I've done a good job.
Yeah, I think you did a great job.
Absolutely wonderful. It was so nice connecting with both of you. I can see the strengths that you bring to your business. You girls probably speak, 3-4 languages between the two of you, so you can be an international brand instantly. I can hear the French, the English, the Belgium is in there. Am I correct?
Yeah, I speak Spanish normally and Ginny French.
That is awesome, awesome, awesome. So thank you everybody for tuning in tonight. The Herstory platform is really trying to bring women from all walks of life, different types of talents. If you are looking for a company that can help get you online, please get in touch with Ginny and Laura. I will put their email, I'll put their website with this interview, and they'll be featured in our magazine as well. The world is changing. If you think that things are going to go back to the way they were, I think you need to forget it. Learn how to use social media to get your business out there, and here is the help that can help you do that. Thank you so much, ladies. Wonderful to have met you both. And goodbye, everybody, wherever you are in the world. I'll be back again tomorrow with yet another fascinating interview. Bye for now.
Thank you.
Bye.
Okay, so that was an interesting interview.
I find it interesting.
Amazing entrepreneurs coming to us from the UK and Belgium, really illustrating the power of using the internet to collaborate, to build a new business and grow. All right, so our next video comes from Bree Salzman. Bree Salzman is another American young woman. So this is her bio. She was checking all the boxes until everything abruptly changed in 2017. A diagnosis of a brain tumor brought a crispness to her future vision that she previously was missing. She immediately began actively designing a life she was excited to live every single day. She now leverages this experience as an ICF professional certified coach in her work with accomplished folks who are asking themselves, what's next? She's also the author of the Examined Life Workbook, which includes over 70 tools, strategies, and exercises to help you step more fully into your true self. She fundamentally believes that everyone wants to be known, and that begins with knowing yourself first. Her clients explore where they are now, who they want to become, and how to connect the two. They walk away with a much deeper and more intimate knowing of themselves that allows them to have a life lived by design. In her first time, Brittany traveled in her converted van with her Yoki Poo, Taz. She's promised herself that she will visit every country in her lifetime and wants to collect more stories than she has time to share them. She's committed to loving the life she lives and living the life she loves every single day. Well, Bree, your story is inspiring and a reminder to all of us on how to live life and live life to the full. So we will share your story now. Thank you for being a part of the Herstory movement.
My name is Bree Salzman. I am located in Chicago, Illinois, in the United States.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Herstory TV and the Herstory podcast. This is Gertrude Mache here in beautiful Wellington, New Zealand. And today I am graced with the presence of yet another stunning woman with an amazing story. Welcome to our tribe. Please tell everybody your full name, where you're based, how old you are, and share your story with us today.
Sure. Hi, Gertrude. I am so excited to be here. Thank you so much. My name is Bree Salzman. I am located in Chicago, Illinois, in the United States. I'm 36 years old, and my life was totally turned upside down at the age of 30. I had a migraine, which wasn't totally like atypical for me. I'd had lots of migraines before, but this one in particular, no matter what I did, I could not get it to break, to go away. And as it progressed, the migraine kind of transitioned into blackouts in my right eye to where I couldn't see at all. So a coworker of mine encouraged me to go to an immediate care center. She was really concerned, and I just thought like, oh, they'll just give me some migraines or prescription strength migraine medicine, still kind of in denial about it. And instead, they told me I needed to go to the emergency room. And so I walked over to the emergency room, again, still thinking like, okay, you all are blowing this out of proportion. This can't be that big of a deal. And the ER doctor told me after a CAT scan, you know, you do have a mass on your brain and we need to admit you to do more testing. And that was the point that I thought, ooh, I probably need to contact someone to let them know where I am. And so they admitted me, and I don't remember a whole lot after that point because they had given me some morphine to kill the pain, and which also kind of puts you off in la la land as well. But that migraine started on a Monday, and that Friday of the same week, I was in surgery to have this brain tumor removed. And I think what is so unique about my personal experience is that a lot of times when people receive diagnoses such as these, there's opportunities and options to get second or third opinions or to be presented with a treatment plan and to make a decision. And certainly there was a treatment plan placed in front of me, but I needed to be going into surgery right away. There wasn't a lot of time to be considering. And so all that time that might have existed for me to settle with a diagnosis, make sense of it, create a plan for myself, it was non-existent. It happened after the fact, after it was all done. And so at that point, it was really about making sense of it. And I experienced this amazing period of what psychologists call post-traumatic growth, where I just had this incredibly positive change after this difficult life trauma or crisis in my life, and it touched every aspect of my life. My relationships just became way more vibrant. I changed careers. I have prioritized travel, that I'm no longer pushing that off to someday. One day I'll get to it. Someday is just not in my vocabulary anymore. Like, seize the moment and do it now is kind of my motto now. And it literally has changed my life in a very, very positive way. And the twist to all of it is that they weren't able to get all of the tumor. And while for some people that might feel like, oh my goodness, you have to continue to live with this. But for me, I'm almost grateful that they weren't able to get all of it, because I go back every year for a check-in and, maintenance and things like that. And it gives me an opportunity to ground myself of, am I living up to the promises that I made to myself of living this life by design, and not just going with the wind, but actually having intentionality in my life and having passion and excitement for others and for life in general. And so it's an amazing opportunity to continue to check in with myself and say, and kind of do that gut check of like, hey, are you doing what you said you were going to do?
Wow, what an amazing story. Just before, when we were catching up, I told you that we share something similar in having had these major health scares. Mine was heart failure. Something happens when you have a brush with death. I say to people, I started living to the full after my illness. I was reminded of how brief and short this life really is. What did your illness do for you?
Absolutely. And Gertrude, what is so interesting to me, and I don't have an answer for this, but not everyone experiences this awakening, if you will. There are some people that go through events like this in life, and it actually can do just the opposite, where it might be paralyzing or prevent them from stepping into their life more fully. And that's something that I haven't quite wrapped my mind around. Like, what is the distinction between being able to take that moment and leverage it as an opportunity to just cease your life, versus someone who might be experiencing just the opposite? And I have so much compassion for people who experience the opposite. And it's something so intriguing to me. For me, I think that the core distinction was I'm a former educator. And so I have this natural desire within me to be a lifelong learner. And so this experience was no different. My primary question is, what is this trying to teach me? What can I learn from this? How do I leverage this to evolve into something even better? And so that's the only way that I can make sense out of why my post-trauma journey was an experience of growth rather than depression or something else.
Well, it sounds to me like you've certainly grabbed it by the horns, so to speak, and you are really living your life by design. You're already crafting what this thing called life really is. So if you were to go back to the younger you, that moment when you got this horrible diagnosis, a lot of people will jump straight into fear, and then the fear consumes them, and then the disease consumes them, and they buy into the story. You didn't seem to have done that, and you've still got some remnants of this in your brain. What conversation would you have had with the younger you based on what you've learned up to this point?
It's so interesting because as I'd mentioned, I don't remember a whole lot of being in the hospital and the surgery itself, but my sister was with me, and she has shared with me that the nurses and doctors and the staff always loved coming into my room because I was always like, it's no big deal, it's going to be fine. And I was always laughing and making other people laugh, and I had no idea what was really going on. But I would just look at that younger self and that younger version of me and just say, keep doing what you're doing. Like this way of living and looking at life is infectious to others, and others
Mm.
need to see this example. They need to see that this is possible.
Oh, I love that. That is really exquisite. It is about other people seeing you as the possibility. And it looks to me like, your family life has been more enriched because of the experience. Everything that I saw in terms of me cyber stalking you online, family is a huge priority to you, correct?
It is, yes. My family is very important to me. And I am very close. I have 3 sisters, and I'm very fortunate to have a great relationship with all 3 of them. I love them dearly. We ironically all live very, very far apart from one another. Like, we can't just drive to see one another, but we somehow always make a point to stay connected. We have a sisters weekend every year. We fly to visit and travel with one another. I mean, it's kind of interesting. We've also made jokes about, like, for being so far apart, we see each other more than we did when we lived in the same town together. But it does. I mean, it really, going through something like this just brings a crispness to what is important. There's not that there's no gray area, but that gray area just becomes so much smaller, and you can just see so clearly and make decisions about, this is in alignment, this is not in alignment. And
Yes.
be firm in those decisions because it's right for you. And my family is one of those things. It is right for me, and it feels so good to be connected to them in this way.
Wow. That is absolutely wonderful. Now, you've written a book, and you are now helping other people, navigate these challenging experiences. Let's talk a little bit about your book. What can people expect?
Yeah. So as I was going through this journey myself of post-traumatic growth, I just had so many people coming to me saying, "You're such an inspiration. Like, I want to live my life like that." And not in the way of, like, I want my life to look like yours, but I want to live my life in a way that feels like truly integrated and in alignment with my values and my vision. And I want to have a zest for life, whatever that looks like for that other person. And I just thought, I don't know. I don't know if I have a book in me. But over time, as more people were coming to me, I thought, you know what? I could really take my experience as an educator and craft a workbook rather than me writing a book, giving you all the answers, telling you, here's the 5 steps to examine your life and live by design and all of these kinds of things. I thought, no, I don't have the answers. I don't know how you should live your life. But what I can do is I can create space for you to explore that for yourself. And so that's what the Examined Life Workbook does. It is a true workbook. So there are activities, you're journaling, you are digging into the depths of who you are. And then you're looking to the future of, who do I want to become? And then the very end, we actually take that and put it into action. And I think that's sometimes the toughest part for folks, because we have this natural desire to do, and, like, let's fix it, let's problem solve. But where the largest transformation occurs is when you can sit in that space of, who am I? What do I want to become? And then from that place, design your action with intention that's going to connect those two.
That is just beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Yeah, I think we go through the challenges that we go through in life so we can become teachers, correct?
Oh my goodness, yes.
So every single moment was worth it.
1,000%.
Yeah, you are really the light at the end of the tunnel for somebody else who's going through a similar experience right now. And what I'm really hoping with these interviews is that as people watch us online and they hear all these amazing stories, you've set an example of what's possible. That is just awesome. And so journaling and writing down things every day, how did that help you?
Well, first, I mean, I had to get really honest with myself about who am I really, and not what does society expect of me, or what does my family expect of me, or what does my spouse or partner or friends or anyone, but what do I really expect of me? What do I want for me? And that's tough because we are always getting so many messages externally. And so to clear out that clutter and really listen to the voice that is within me, that was the biggest challenge for me in the beginning, because I had put that voice away. I didn't even know the voice even existed anymore. And so to discover that again, and then learn what do I do with this? There's power behind this voice, and how can I leverage that in a way that lifts others up and has a wider impact. And so that has been the transformational experience for me, is to be able to see this ripple effect. I have these examined life workbook groups where we actually, in a small group, we do this work together in community. And we just finished one last week, and one of the journeyers shared, I've experienced this growth, but more importantly, the people around me are also experiencing this growth. And Gertrude, that's like a dream come true for me, that people who are not even working directly with me are impacted with it because of that ripple effect. And that is, I could have never imagined that. It just gives me chills.
I love it when you give yourself chills. It means you're on the right track.
Yes. I always say I'm always shooting to blow my own mind.
Bree, it has been an absolute pleasure talking to you this morning. Thank you for the energy and the life you bring into the world.
Oh, thank you so much, Gertrude.
And thank you to everybody who tuned in. This has been so uplifting, so inspiring. Come back again tomorrow when I interview yet another amazing woman coming from a different part of the world. Have a fantastic day wherever you are in the world right now. Bye for now.
Okay, so that was yet another amazing speaker. Truly inspiring stories that we have had this morning so far. We've had entrepreneurs, we've had somebody who has overcome a traumatic health experience and gone on to create a business. Our next speaker is Venus Morris Griffin. I'll share a little bit about who Venus is. She grew up surrounded by toxic figures and vowed that when she became a mom, her kids would never know the heartaches of her childhood. Her adult life seemed perfect to outsiders, 6 children, involved in her church, but her world fell apart one night when a prostitute revealed her manipulative husband's years of infidelity and the crushing amount of debt he had let them in. With no money in her account, she had to re-enter the workforce after years and became the sole provider of 6 young children. After the breakdown of her marriage inevitably revealed another dirty secret of her ex-husband's, she helped the feds put him away for 45 years. Without the support of the church community that once so lovingly embraced her, and against the expectations of many, Venus was able to bring herself and her 6 children out of the toxic environment to a loving home through hard work. Within a decade of obtaining her real estate license during the 2008 housing crisis, she was awarded her first #1 Producer of the Year award out of 250 Mayborn real estate agents. Today, Venus is the mother to 7, an award-winning real estate agent, an inspirational speaker, and an upcoming author of a memoir. Venus, it is always intriguing for me to meet women like you who overcome all the odds in their lives, all the things that went wrong, and go on to excel and build an extraordinary life for themselves and their children. Thank you for sharing your story with us today.
My name is Venus Morris Griffin. I am from Augusta, Georgia. I live in Augusta, Georgia for the last 30 years. I am 49 years old. I'll be 50 in March. I have 7 children ranging from 25 to 5. I've given birth to all 7. And I'm a real estate agent.
You do not look a day over 20. I want to know what you're eating. So tell us your story.
Well,
where does your story begin?
Thank you. Yes. So my earliest memory as a child was watching my mother's fingernails. And if they were to start turning blue, then, I was to call 911. And I just remember growing up in just, really not good circumstances. My mother was a wonderful person, but she struggled with drug addiction, prescriptions, and alcoholism my whole life. And, as a young child, I watched her go in and out of rehabs and mental hospitals, and, from one guy to another guy. I remember, just getting up in the morning for school and just having blankets over the doors and having one room that we kept warm, and, scared to invite friends over because when you turn the light on in the kitchen, like roaches are going everywhere. And I just, it was just a really tough childhood. My mother married at 15 and had 3 children. I was the youngest of the 3. My brother never seemed to break the cycle. He was in and out of boys' homes most of his youth and was incarcerated. I think it was in high school in a maximum security prison for, I don't even remember, burglary or something of the sort. My sister also, she was a wonderful person, but she lost her children at a very young age. And the last time I saw her, she was in a mental hospital trying to convince me that she worked there. And she hasn't, her boys still come to see me and her grandchildren, but she hasn't ever met the grandchildren or really seen her boys in probably 20 something, since they were little. But, all my life, I just worked, I thought, okay, if I can just figure out how to break the cycle, then I'll be okay. And so, I didn't really know how to navigate through life because everyone around me was so dysfunctional. I had a stepfather who was a really bad alcoholic that we were all terrified of. The guy that I thought was my father, was schizophrenic, and, you'd go in his house, so I'd go to visit, and he'd have 10 locks going up and down the doors. And, I found out later at 15, I think I was 17, I met my biological father, who my mother had an affair with her boss, and I met him for the first and last time when I was around 17 years old. So, I said, I just have to get out of this awful environment. So I to graduate high school. I went to summer school and took an extra class. So I graduated high school in 3 years. I switched high schools, I think, like 7 times in 3 years, and then I graduated. And really, from the age of 14 on, was on my own. I would live with friends. I lived with my mother, I lived with my sister, really on the verge of homelessness, really at any moment. And when I got to college, I worked 2 jobs. I put myself through school. My mother helped me financially the first year, and then her alcoholism regressed to the point where she was not even functional. So I just remember I worked 2 jobs and put myself through school, and I met the love of my life. I graduated from the University of South Carolina, and I thought, you know, I've done this. I've figured this out. I've met this amazing man, and we, you know, we married shortly after college, and I guess we dated about a year and a half, and the love of my life he was, I thought. And about 17 years after we were married, I get a phone call in the middle of the night, and it was from this prostitute who was blackmailing him. And she called me and she says, you know, I don't know you, but I'm calling to tell you that your husband has been cheating on you for years, and you know, we've blackmailed him and we've taken everything that you have. We've drained all of your bank accounts, your kids' accounts, you know, you have nothing. And so, you know, my first reaction was like, there's no way this is true. You know, this lady is out to get her family. My husband and I went to church every Sunday together. We sat on the front row, and we were, again, I was a youth minister. He coached the football team, the basketball team. You know, we were the PTO presidents. We had lunch together every day. So I thought this lady, this prostitute, was really just trying to extort money from us, keeping in mind, you know, we had 6 children, and I think my husband made $100,000 a year. So that's a lot of money, but it's really not a lot when you have 6 children. So we weren't, you know, wealthy by any means because we had such a large family. But, you know, I just didn't believe her, because I never had any, you know, really anything to suggest that he would do something like that. So I asked her, I said, you know, would you mind if I met with you? It was really late, middle of the night. And she said, sure. So I'll never forget, at the time, I had just had a baby. I was still nursing. So my husband was out of town. I had a 15-year-old, a 13-year-old, 11-year-old, a 9-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a 1-year-old. And I was a stay-at-home, wasn't working. I think I had just got my real estate license to try to start maybe making a little extra so we could, you know, take vacations and that kind of stuff and not be such a financial, you know, burden on the family. And so my son's like, sure, Mom. I said, well, you know, call me if the baby wakes up. And so I go down there and meet with her. And, you know, all of these things are going through your mind, because you're like, okay, this is not happening. It's like you're like out of your body. You know, there's no way that he did these things. And I was determined to save him and to prove his innocence. I didn't even call him because I just knew, I don't know. So drove up to the hotel room. It was this little awful hotel off of Washington Road. And I'll never forget, you know, knocking on the door, and this very young girl comes to the door. And, you know, I'm kind of small, but she looked like she was half my size. And, you know, she's fidgeting from her head to toe, and just, you know, you could tell she was just on something, but, you know, she seemed kind of normal, but on something. And so I go into the room, and I'll never forget this, you know, I'm still thinking that she's lying, but then she gets her telephone and she starts showing me all of these photos. And the photos are of my husband in, you know, compromised positions without clothes on. And at that point, I knew that she wasn't lying, that he had done these things. And so it's the weirdest part of all of this is I'm looking at this young girl in the eyes, and you would think that I would just like hate her. But all I could do is it's like we were connected, our souls were connected. I just felt this tremendous sadness, because women don't sell their bodies and give their self to people like that unless they're tormented and something's happened to them. And so we had this strong friendship and connection. It's the strangest thing. And I just felt forgiveness and love, and you know, I just remember I can't even put words to describe how I felt towards her, because it doesn't make sense when I rationally look at it. She just really took my whole life from me as I knew it. She didn't do it, but, you know, and so she showed me these pictures, and then she turns the phone around to me, and it's my husband calling on her phone to try to stop her from telling me. And I'll never forget, I answered the phone, and I just said, how could you do this to our family and our children? And of course I was devastated. You know, I mean, what do you do with that? Like, in, you know, I say, like, your life can change in 10 seconds, and you got to decide what's going to happen to you with that. So strangely as it is, flat broke, she's just told us they've taken everything we have. She feels this connection to me, I can tell as well, and a respect for me. And I give her $100 check because she can't get back to Atlanta to turn herself in for something that she had done. And over the next few days, I said, don't cash the check. I need 3 days. I got a closing and I'll have money in my account 3 days, but I don't have $100 in there right now. And so, I mean, that too, I'm like, who in their right mind gives $100 to somebody? They don't have it. They've got 6 kids, but I just, you know, God gives you these little whispers that this is the right thing to do, and everything will happen right for you. And I just felt like, you know, that was the right thing to do. So the next 3 days, can I cash a check? Can I cash? No. And then finally, okay, the money's there, you can cash the check. And that's the last time I ever saw or spoke to her. But I'll never forget that night driving back, and I'm going in Washington Road, and I'm like, you know, I'm going to fight for my marriage, because he's done some awful things. And I mean, it's hard as a woman, especially when it's something sexual. But I'm like, you know, it's no different than alcoholism, drug addiction, sex addiction is just more personal. And I said, you know, I'm sitting here having all these scenarios go through my mind, and I'm like, you know, anybody can say they're going to be a good wife when it's all good, right? When everything is perfect. But you see really who you are during the tough times. And I said, you know what? I'm going to show my children that we don't quit. And I'm going to help my husband through this, whatever is going on, through this awful addiction, no matter what. And so, long story short, he's got wonderful parents. His parents were like floored too, and they sent him this sexual rehab in Hattiesburg, Mississippi. And while he was there, some other things came out that he did that were really, really bad. And he took a few lie detector tests, and he failed them. And after that happened, the doctor contacted the Department of Social Services, who contacted the district attorney. And over the next 4 to 6 months, he was tried and convicted and sent to prison for 45 years. And so that's when my life changed. You know, I'm like, okay, what do you do? You know, I've got a husband that I love dearly. I filed for divorce when he failed the lie detector test, because it was something that would compromise my children's safety. I don't mention what it is because it would ruin your podcast. And, you know, this isn't really about what he did. This is what you do under bad circumstances. But, you know, what do? I'm driving home from the courthouse, and I'm like, okay, how do I sit my 6 children down and tell them their dad basically is going to be in the prison the rest of his life? I mean, he's got 45 years. He's got to serve 21. And I'm broke. I'm hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt. I lived in a 2-bedroom place, 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom little cottage, and had no job. You know, I just got my real estate license, and I'll never forget, my divorce attorney said to me, you know, Venus, I know you like this real estate thing, but you need to get a real job, because in case you don't know, everybody's getting out of the real estate market. It's 2009. It's the recession. You know, the good agents are leaving, and you don't get child support from prison. And my family, they all lived in trailers. They're great. I have a great, great family, but there of little means. And so I just remember thinking, okay, oh my God, what do you do with this? And so I drove home from the courthouse, and I'll never forget, I sat all 6 children down in a circle in our living room. And I told them, I said, you know, the first thing we are going to do as a family, I said, we're going to forgive your dad. And I said, we are never, ever going to speak bad of him. And I am going to pick myself up. I really don't know what that means, but I know my work ethic, and I know what I've overcome already from my childhood to putting myself through college. And I am going to take care of you. And I don't know what that means, but I know that, you know, with God and, you know, hard work, and you can figure it out. I didn't know how you're going to figure it out. And I'll never forget my 15-year-old says, you know, Mom, he said, it doesn't matter what happens to us. You know, we have each other, and I'm going to help you raise my brothers and sisters. So he said to me, he said, you go out and you do what you need to do to take care of our family, and I'm going to help with my siblings. And so we started our journey that way. And I just, you know, I didn't really know what to do other than, you know, work hard and just put it in God's hands. I said, okay, so the first thing I did, committed to my family, is that first year my ex-husband was in prison. I got all 6 children up I got up every morning. I went running for 5 miles because I knew that I needed endorphins to help my mind, because it was hard and I was scared. And I had nothing, you know, and I knew that if I didn't pick the game up, that my kids would pay the price. And so I ran every morning 5 miles. And then I got all of my children out of the bed and I fixed them breakfast. I took them to church. We went every day for the first year before school at 7 in the morning. And then I dropped them off at school. I'm so sorry. And then I would go to work, you know, and I didn't have any business at the time at all. And I would put on a suit, and I only had like 2 cheap suits, and I would rotate those suits, and I would get up every day and go to work like I was this big person. And I just remember, you know, I would read my son said to me, Mom, you research everything you can research, and you know, show that you'll be an expert in your field in 5 years. And so I was researching every day, how do you become a real estate agent? How do you make money in a recession, you know, when the whole country is falling down, and support 6 kids? And so I just did that. I would ride around, I would look for doors, I would knock on doors, and I would not beg people, but I would just tell them if they would give me a chance to sell their house, that I would be the best agent that they'd ever seen. And I would do what I told them I was going to do. And then they would refer me. And then I started becoming very successful quickly. And, you know, another thing that I committed to is I didn't want to have all of these children and maybe working crazy hours and then think that money was more important to them and that I'd love them. And so that's really kind of a hard balance sometimes as a mom, a single mom. And so I committed my assistant. My first year, I was so broke. My assistant was my best friend, and I could not even pay her. She worked for free for the first year, and then I called her up the second year, and she was amazing. She's like, Venus, I'll feed your family. You're not going to go under. You know, I'm here for you. Thankfully, she didn't have to feed my family because, you know, I became successful, and But I committed every night to having dinner with my kids, all 6 kids. We would sit around the table, and from 6:30 to 7:30 or whatever time, we would have dinner. I would make dinner, and we would go around. We'd say a good thing or not so good thing, and then I'd go back to work. You know, I was literally working like 70 hours a week, and you don't, when you're starting out in sales, you don't get a paycheck, so you just got to keep on working. But, you know, I knew that I had first to put oxygen mask on myself before I could put it on my kids. And so that's why I worked out. And, you know, I believe in a higher power. So I wanted to, you know, I didn't know what to do, but I just knew as long as I could look up, I could get up. And so every day I just got up, you know, and I decided, you know, to not be a victim. And I decided I forgave my husband, you know, because you're not defined by the worst thing you do.
You know, I it's not every day I interview people and I'm lost for words. Your story is just incredible.
You would think it would not be hard.
It's an incredible
10 years.
story.
It's been 10 years and it's still very difficult, you know, because what I don't want to do, like when I tell these stories, it's not about what's happened to me, because, you know, I tell people I'm no one special. I'm just a normal person who just said, okay, I'm not going to be a victim. I'm going to get up no matter how hard it is. I'm going to do the best I can do. And it's going to work out. And if you know that, and it's like when you take off in an airplane, you know, there's going to be turbulence when you get up. But if you keep working every day, you're going to get smooth. And I just knew if I kept working, and I would reflect on my childhood, and I just knew if I kept working that it would be okay. And it was, you know, my first year in the business, I made, you know, less than $20,000 or $20,000 in real estate. The least important thing about me is my income. So I want to be very clear. You are not more important or more successful because of the dollars you make, but I share it because, you know, it's important to see that you've got this little girl who knows nobody. I'm in a town, I have no connections. I come from dirt. And, you know, my first full year in the business, I made 6 figures. By year 7, I was making over $1 million a year. And now, you know, I am very blessed and, you know, continue to make 7 figures. But again, I only share that to say, you know,
It looks like something went wrong with our video towards the end, but what an incredible story. Very, very strong young woman who survived the odds of losing her livelihood, losing her husband, being left with 3 small children, 7 children, and going into the real estate business and totally reinventing herself from nothing to something. So every time I listen to stories like this, I am just completely blown away at the tenacity and the spirit of women. The challenges that we face, the way we manage to overcome those challenges. And in this particular case, she had the empathy to see that the young woman who had been messing around with her husband was also a victim in all of what was going on. And she was able to help her as well, which is just incredible.
Right.
So we're going to move on now to our next amazing story. And this is a story from Tiffany Jackman, and she is the head of film development at HOBO Films. She had a love for storytelling from a young age, starting while writing skits and plays for her classmates to perform during school assemblies. Playwriting evolved to filmmaking when she bought her first camera at the age of 12 and has been a passion ever since. Through the years, she has produced commercial campaigns for various Fortune 500 companies while working as a film producer at Grey Worldwide and Omnichrome Health Group's Link 9. She has also directed and produced web series, music videos, short films, 3 feature films, and 1 TV series. She's an alumni and current screener and mentor for the Multicultural Advertising Internship Program and a member of the New York Women in Film and TV. When not making films, Tiffany can be found teaching film to the next generation of filmmakers as an adjunct professor at the New York City College of Technology. Tiffany loves the thrill of filmmaking and is willing to tackle any project, no matter how challenging. So we're going into the creatives now. Thank you, Tiffany, for sharing your story with us. We will share your video next.
My name is Tiffany Jackman. I am based in the New York City area.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Herstory TV and the Herstory podcast. This is Gertrude Macha here in beautiful Wellington, New Zealand, and I am graced with the presence of a very creative young woman coming to us all the way from the US. Welcome to our tribe. Please tell everybody your full name, where you're based, how old you are, and share your magical story with us today.
Well, thank you for having me. My name is Tiffany Jackman. I am based in the New York City area. So I live in New Jersey, but pretty much live in New York City. I am a filmmaker. I'm a writer, director, producer, and I have loved storytelling from the time I was a very, very little girl. I always tell this story that when I was little, I used to take my dolls, and not just like any little kid, every little kid plays with dolls, but I used to take my dolls and turn them into TV shows. And I'm the oldest of 4 girls, and I used to force my little sisters to watch my shows. They had theme songs and everything. So I like to come up with stories from the time I was a teeny little girl. I also used to like to write plays, and I used to write them for my classmates to perform. And the plays, people used to love the plays, but one of the frustrations I had was that the plays couldn't be consistent. You know, sometimes somebody would forget their line, or a piece of the set would fall. So I don't know, so many reasons. And then someone suggested, why don't you just film it so that when it's done right, it will stay that way forever. And so when I was 12 years old, I got my first camera, and I've been making little movies ever since. I went to NYU and went through their film program. Upon graduating, I studied film directing and producing when I was at NYU. But upon graduating, I actually got an internship at an ad agency. And so that's how I started my career, really doing commercials for these big name clients, like CoverGirl, E-Trade, Advil, Robitussin, all these huge companies. I started doing commercials for them, but on the side, I was still doing my movies because that's where my passion lied. And eventually, one of the movies got onto HBO, got onto Amazon Prime, and we're making the film festival circuit. And so I eventually came to the realization that I couldn't, if I was making this much success, you know, in my downtime, my vacation days, I need to go full-fledged and just see what I can do if I actually jumped off the corporate ladder and focus on my passion. And so about 2 years ago, I decided to leave my corporate job and follow my film career. And I haven't looked back since. Actually, while I was leaving, one of my good friends, Howard Bowler, who ran Hobo Audio, I told him that, you know, I was leaving on Friday, and he asked me if I could work on a TV pilot that he had been working on. And I was like, well, sure. I mean, I'm leaving my job. Why not? And so I worked with him on this pilot called The System because I love the storyline. And that one has gained, it got distribution on Quelly TV. And then we started working on other stuff together. And I'm officially launching with Howard Hobo Films. So he already had an audio company called Hobo Audio. And now I'm the head of development at Hobo Films. We did the system. And we recently did this powerful documentary called Crawford, the Man the South Forgot. And I'm so proud of how it came out because it was an adventure pulling it together.
Wow, what an incredible journey you've been on. What I love most about your story is you knew what your passion in life really was from a very early age. Some people don't get to discover it that early, but you knew what it was. You went into the corporate world, didn't feel right, and you plucked up the courage to, like you said, leap off the corporate ladder. If you were to talk to somebody right now who is trying to make a decision like that, based on what life has taught you in the last 2 years, what 3 nuggets of advice would you give that person to take the leap?
I would say find out what your passion is and just do it. Find out what your passion is, trust your gut, and just do it. Because when I was leaving my job, and there were very good jobs that I worked for. So I didn't leave on any type of bad terms or anything like that. It's just that I needed to follow my passion. And as I was leaving, I was going around and telling, my coworkers that, hey, I'm leaving. And one of the first things they asked you is, well, where are you going? Like everybody assumed you're just going to go to another corporate job. And when I told them that I was leaving, then and that I was going to just follow my passion, so many of them started telling me about their passions and what they really wanted to do. And I would see this light in their eyes when they talked about, like, maybe they wanted to be a musician, maybe they wanted to paint or whatever. And then the light will go out when they say something like, oh, well, but then reality set in and they had kids or whatever reason that they needed to stay in this job. And it was very sad. And all I could tell them was that you can still do it. There's still time. So I would say the biggest thing is just do it. And the proof of what happens when you actually just follow your passion, right, is that since I've left, I haven't had to go back and things have fallen into place. Even the whole thing with how it worked out with Howard Bowler, the way I knew Hobo Audio is because while I was doing my commercials, we would contract Hobo Audio to do the audio work for those commercials. So they would do the music, the sound effects, the voiceover records. So I'd been working with Howard for years. And he also would help me with my feature films as well, with my side projects. And so when it came time to leave, I didn't even have to ask him for anything. He just saw the passion that I had put into my work and asked me to work with him. So far, since I've left, I haven't had to interview or ask for anything. It's because I was following my passion. Everything fell into place. But so in regards, I say the first thing is just do it. Trust your gut. I would say I think I gave that second one, but the last one I would say is just because you want to make that leap doesn't mean that you should just make it without planning it. When I decided that I was going to leave my job, it actually, from the time I made the decision, it was actually a year's process in the making for me to actually leave. I made sure that I had at least a year of savings saved up, because you can't just think that your passion is going to start making you money right away, right? I started building my clientele because I also have been using like what I learned in advertising to do work for small businesses. So I had to start building that up as well. So you have to make an exit strategy. You can't just leave.
That's wonderful. Now, I know that a lot of your work is based around social justice stories, and you have worked on some phenomenal pieces. Tell us a little bit about your latest venture.
Yeah. So I always ask myself, whenever I'm doing a project, before I sign on to things, I always ask myself, why does this story need to be told? Who can it help? Because I have, went to film school. So I have friends that are working on all types of projects. They're working on the Avengers movies or all these big budget things, which is cool, you know, not knocking any of that. But I choose to work on things that I think can impact people. Right. So in regards to Crawford, the man the South forgot, this story is about a woman who journeys back to a historically racist Southern town. She lives in Chicago. She journeys back to a historically racist Southern town to find out what happened to her great-great-grandfather, because she's heard all these stories about how he was so successful and, you know, how the family had their own business and they were so popular, but that something had happened to him. So her journey is to go back and find out what happened to him, find that connection to him. And the story, her grandfather, his name was Anthony Crawford. And there's some debate whether or not he was born a slave or born right after slavery ended. But either way, he came from humble beginnings to owning over 427 acres of prime cotton land. Wow. And back then, right at the turn of the 20th century, owning cotton land was basically like owning gold, because that is what the country was run on at that time. So he amassed this large farm. He farmed it with his 13 children, and they grew cotton. They had animals. They grew crops. He ended up building a school. He headed a church. Like he was a pillar in the community. And as a Black man, someone who was a former slave or just born after slavery, that was a huge accomplishment. But, you know, with that, he had pride about him. And there's something that comes with being an entrepreneur where you don't take anything from anybody because you don't have a boss, right? And so he had pride about him. And he was quoted as once saying, "The day a white man hits me is the day I die," which just proves that he wasn't going to let anybody talk down to him. He wasn't going to let anybody hit him. And so fast forward to October 21st, 1916, he took his cotton into town to sell it, and he was underbid by a white merchant. A white merchant offered him less than what he was offering some of the other merchants. And he told that merchant, you're cheating me. He called him a cheat. And well, that was all they needed, because there were already some people who were quite jealous of him. And a mob of between 200 and 400 people beat him, stabbed him, took his body, drug it all throughout town, and then hung his body on a tree and shot it over 200 times. And if that's not horrific enough, they went to his family and told him they have 30 days to get off the land or that they would be killed as well. And so his family ended up dispersing all over the US. Some went to New York, some went to Philadelphia, some went to Chicago, where our protagonist, Doria D. Johnson, where her family ended up. And the family was split up. And till this day, they don't have any proceeds from that land. That land is owned by a paper company. And so she, you know, being that they were dispersed, the family was kind of torn apart. She had heard these rumors about this great-great-grandfather that she had, and she wanted to find out more about him. And the documentary follows her as she goes back to that town and to try to get that town to recognize what happened to him.
Wow. What a tragic story.
Yeah.
But again, these are the untold stories that go unseen, unheard, unless somebody takes time to shine a light on them.
Exactly.
Wow.
And that's what, you know, us at Hobo Films, that's what we're trying to do, is shine a light on some of these stories, because there are so many stories out there. I'm tired of seeing the same story on TV all the time.
Yeah, that's so true. Do you think there could be reparations that could come out of the exposure of this kind of a story?
I mean, I would love for reparations to happen. It like, if not for Black people, Black Americans in general, at least for this family.
Yeah,
they deserve to have something from that land. I actually went down there, and you know, I'd been hearing about 427 acres and stuff as I was editing the film. But when I actually went down there to visit his land, I had to take a car from one end to another And just seeing how much land that was, it was very upsetting, because I was like, wow, this family does not have access to this land and what
Anything.
it's worth. Yeah, anything. It was taken over by pretty much the people who killed him.
Gosh.
And now it's owned by a paper company.
Yeah, it's, from a distance, being a person of African descent, I have always looked on the tragedy of the African American story.
Mm-hmm.
We hear about these things. We are so far away from it. It wasn't until I came and lived in the US for a while that I got to experience what it is to be Black in America.
Right.
We hear the stories, but it's not the same when you're actually physically there. So I lived in Pittsburgh for a while. I lived in New Mexico, and the ignorance, even in the United States, about the history. And it's mostly because most of this history has been written out of the history books. So most kids grow up without a clue of what actually happened or what is still going on within the country. So I think it's really important that storytellers continue telling the real story and not just glossing things over. So now with the Black Lives Matter movement,
Mm-hmm.
I think there is an opportunity for people like you to go back and redress the past.
Yes.
Somebody said to me the other day, oh, I'm really sad with what's going on in the United States. And I think it's actually perfect. The previous regime, the Trump legacy, was a catalyst for change. People were under the impression that the civil rights movement had solved the issues with race relations issues in the United States, and it wasn't true. And it's like somebody had slapped a Band-Aid over a septic sore and said, everything is fine. We've dealt with it. And this wound has been festering under the surface. And Donald Trump came up and pulled off the Band-Aid and exposed what's really there. And now it's time for Americans to heal, to go back into those wounds and address them. When you watch a man being murdered by a policeman on screen, we've seen so many of these deaths, and nobody's held accountable to it. The policemen walk off scot-free. The police are supposed to be the protectors of a community, of a society, and that's not the case in the US.
No, not at all. It's because in the US, the police started off as the slave patrols. So how could they be a protector of Black people if their origins are in oppressing Black people? That's a whole nother conversation. But
it's another conversation, yeah.
Yeah.
And the prison system, from what I see, is just another form of slavery.
Yes.
I used to watch, American Westerns. So I'm from Zimbabwe originally, and the bounty hunters and all of that. It's just the same thing. They have a certain quota. They have to catch enough people to keep the prisons going. I mean, nowhere else in the world is the prison system privatized. I mean, if you privatize a prison system, you need people in the prison so they can make money. It's such a bizarre thing to watch from a distance, and yet it's considered very normal in the United States. It's like, I don't get it. I really.
Yeah, they're just so used to it that they don't know any other way, but that's, like I said, that's a whole nother discussion. The prison system should not be privatized. I don't think that the police should be making money. Not the police shouldn't be making money. The police system should not be a way of making money for the government. They should not be getting money for the number of people that they lock up. They shouldn't even be getting money for the number of parking tickets they write. They should literally be there to protect and to serve. But because there's so much they make so much money off of what the police officers do, it harms the community at the end of the day. It makes them stop people for stupid reasons, It's crazy. That I think the whole system needs to be revamped.
Yeah. Well, I really thank you for coming and shining a light on a very important issue in the United States. Thank you for the work that you do in telling these stories, the untold stories that people never get to hear about. And I hope that through your work, things will change. I know that we can change the world one story at a time, one person at a time. And that's basically what you're working on as well.
Thank you so much. And thank you for giving me the time and the platform to talk about these stories. I really appreciate it.
It is an absolute pleasure. And thank you to everybody who tuned in today. Our platform is trying to connect, uplift, inspire women, people all over the world, one story at a time, one day at a time. Sometimes you'll come onto this platform and you'll hear a story that will shock you. And I know for a lot of people in the US listening right now, you might not have known about these kind of stories and you've lived there your whole life. So I hope you have taken this particular story with empathy, putting yourself in the shoes of this family, the Crawford family, what they went through, what they lost, what their great-grandfather had created as a legacy for his family that is just completely gone. How would you feel if it was you? I think when we infuse empathy in our listening, we can change the world. So thank you again. I'll be back again tomorrow with yet another amazing story. This is Gertrude Matcha here in beautiful Wellington, New Zealand. Have a fantastic day wherever you are in the world. Bye for now. Thank you, Tiffany.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
And there we have it, yet another amazing story. Wow, there are layers and layers and layers to all of these stories. The last one touched me in a very big way. Having lived in the United States for a while, I experienced some of the experiences that most African Americans go through on a daily basis. And it's incredible how we are so ignorant to what is going on in the world until you're in that situation and you get to experience it firsthand. So I can see that my next speaker is trying to come on. Noreen, I can see you there in the background, but your sound is not connected. Let's see how I can get you on. Let's see here. Definitely a problem with the device you're on. So I'll give you a quick call. So bear with me, everybody. I will be with you in a minute. Let me just see what is happening to my next speaker. Back in then. Okay, so it looks like we are going to move on to the next set of 3 videos this time. 3 amazing presenters coming to us from different parts of the world. I will see you in about an hour's time after these 3 videos have played.
You're weird. These are the words I heard my classmates say to me every day because I didn't look like everyone else. I was sad. I was angry. I felt alone. What was crazy is I felt like it was my fault. All I could hear was, "You're not good enough." Those words created a darkness in me. That darkness turned into 11 weeks of me having a hard time eating. And hey, I love to eat. But in those days, I felt so alone. I felt afraid to speak up. I thought my voice didn't matter. So I kept my bullying a secret from everyone, even my mom. And then one day, after I took a bath, I asked her something that made her cry. I asked her, "Mom, when will I stop feeling weird?" See, I heard the kids at school call me weird so many times that I started to believe them. I actually started to think that something was really wrong with me. But that day, wrapped in a towel at 5 years old, I did a really brave thing. I finally gained the courage to tell my mom what was going on at school, what the kids were saying to me, and how the teacher wasn't helping to stop it either. And my mom wiped her tears, gave me a hug, and asked me a question that has changed my life forever. Do you know what she asked? She asked me, "Kavanaugh, how can I help you? What should we do?" I was so surprised. I thought she would be mad at me for telling her. I thought she would make me feel like the bullies did. It's crazy how a darkness inside of you can trick you into thinking that no one cares. But you know what I told her? I told her, "Hey, Mom, I want to go talk to the president and get him to make a law." Now, that was a bit of a stretch, but instead, she suggested that we start with the mayor first. And I did. Because I didn't want other kids to feel the darkness from bullying that I felt. I was scared at first to talk to the mayor. I mean, he's an elected official. But it was an amazing experience. See, I gave a 2-minute speech to ask him to dedicate a day, February 21st, as our official Bullying Awareness Day. And guess what? He said yes. So that is a day every year where we pause and reflect on how we treat each other and what we can do to spread kindness in the world. And that was the day my nonprofit Cool and Dope was born and where I found magic. I realized that magic is what drowned out the darkness. I also realized that we all have darkness in our lives. And even though my darkness might not look like yours, we all experience it. And I want to challenge you today to start putting magic in your life. I'm going to teach you 5 simple steps called magic. First, find your M for motivation. Motivation is the reason you do something or act in a certain way. You see, Your darkness can often create a purpose or a passion in your life. It might be to fix things that are broken in your community, or to create change so that others don't have to experience what you have gone through. This is definitely the case for me, because after being bullied at school, I knew I didn't want other kids to feel the darkness that I felt. So I made it my mission to help them find their voice so they know that they matter too. So with my mind motivated on helping other kids overcome bullying, I put the second piece of magic into play. A. A is for action. My first step of action was meeting with the mayor to give a really important speech. I was only 6 years old at the time. I know, I was a baby, but I got February 21st dedicated as Bullying Awareness Day. Then got October recognized as Bullying Prevention Month for my entire county. You see, you are never too old or too young to take action. Now, let's talk about G. G is for generosity. Generosity not only serves others, it also helps our hearts heal from the darkness. It gives us meaning. It gives us purpose. Now, generosity is not just about giving material things or money. It is also about serving others in our community with our time. And what is dope is that you may never know the impact of generosity. It will create an impact that starts a ripple effect that will span through many lifetimes. You know, the anti-bullying day I got dedicated, the mayor to honor, that was in honor of a little boy named Gabriel Taye, who committed suicide due to bullying. And you know what I did? I took that proclamation I got from the mayor and took it all the way to Cincinnati, Ohio to give to Gabriel's family, and that helped motivate them to keep up the bullying work in their community. They are still impacting people now. Also, me sharing my story of bullying has impacted hundreds of other kids who in turn will keep the ripple effect going. So you see, even if the action you take is small, the wave of change you can create can be huge. Now, let's talk about I. I is for involve. When it comes to unleashing our magic, the more people we can get involved, the better. I tap into my friends to help me with my campaigns, whether it's making 3,500 care packs for senior citizens and people who are in need, or filling a 53-foot tractor-trailer truck to send all the way to the Pine Ridge Reservation full of goods, or creating community food pantries that have served over 14,000 people during COVID. I could have never done that without getting people involved. What I learned is that people love to get involved. You just have to ask. That is how we got Brownie and Ivory involved in our community efforts. It creates excitement and momentum. Keep this in mind. Most everything I have been able to do is because of all the volunteers who are kids my same age. You just have to take the steps and get involved and get others involved. Now, let's go back to magic. When you put your M for motivation, your A for action, your G for generosity, your I for involvement, then you have tapped into the most powerful force on the planet Earth, your magic. 2. C. C to change the world. I've used my magic to create change, and that magic has opened up the doors for others to use their magic to create change. Gandhi said it best when he said, "Be the change you wish to see in the world." So, let me ask you, what kind of change do you want to create in your life? What kind of change do you want to make in the world? First, it starts with magic. Magic is within all of us. And it's not just for us kids to believe in. I use my magic to help over 14,000 people in 11 months. Raise $172,000 in donations to help so many people in need. And my magic has taken me all the way to the presidential inauguration. But the greatest part of all is how much all of this magic has changed my life. But the real question is, what will you do with your magic? The world needs it more than ever right now. So please, don't let it go to waste. Again, my name is Kavanaugh Bell. I'm 8 years old. I'm on a mission to end bullying worldwide by 2030. I know I can do this, especially if we can create leadership opportunities for kids like me to feel powerful, to speak up, and to speak out. I hope my story has inspired you to do great things in your community, because I can't change this world by myself. If you remember one thing from me, let it be this. Anyone can have an impact, no matter their age. I love you guys. Peace.
What an inspiring young man coming to us all the way from the United States. Karen, welcome, welcome, welcome. Lovely to see you again.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Man, I'm inspired after that. That was amazing.
Kavanaugh is a very special young boy. He harnessed all of his pain, everything he was going through with being bullied at school. He's now an activist. He's helping other children. Just inspiring to see someone so young going out into the world and changing the world all by himself, of course, with the help of his mom.
Wow. Yeah, that was a great way to start my night.
So, Karen, it's lovely to have you with us live. I'm just going to do a little introduction. Those of you who are part of the Herstory Circle know you. You are not a stranger to us. It's always great to have you back. Just to give everybody a bit of a background who's never heard Karen speak, she is a financial literacy expert who is driven to help women overcome their money blocks and find the courage to dive into their finances. She bravely shared her story in an Amazon best-selling book, Aspire Women Finding Their Purpose, to inspire women to reframe the lessons of their pasts, to learn how they can serve others and make the world a better place. Now, Karen, you truly are making the world a better place, one woman at a time, one story at a time, and it really excites me to have you back with us today. I know that you have been working on a number of presentations, so we are keen to hand over the talking stick to you and be inspired by you this morning. Thank you for gracing us with your presence.
Well, thanks for having me. I'm so happy to be back with you. What you guys have been doing around the globe has just, touched my heart. It was almost exactly a year ago that we met, a year and a month ago exactly, and that's when I found Her Circle and which the summit that you're doing, and I'm just so honored to be part of this family. That's what we are. We're a family. We're all here. We're all united in our own way, and I'm so glad to be back here and to play my part in that. So one of the things that I've been doing is I've been working on a dream sequence, because one of the things that I've discovered is that so many people are living somebody else's dream for their life, or they're living to prove a point. Like, I'm Exhibit A. I have so many acronyms to prove to my dad that I could do math, but that isn't what I was called to do. And so this dream sequence I'm going to take you through, I did a variation of this with my very first coach. And it really opened up the possibilities of what I can do. And so I wanted to share this with you and see if this is something my dream is that all of you could reach down deep within and discover who you are called to be and what your purpose is and what those dreams inside are. So what I'd like you to do is first take a deep breath and then close your eyes. And then what I'd like you to start doing is remove the people who cause you stress, who cause you pain, people who boss you around. And then remove any stresses that you have in your life, whether it's screaming kids, And again, they'll be there when we're done with this. So don't worry about that. Let's put that aside for now. This is all about you. This is about discovering who you are. So it's okay to remove these things right now. Do you have demanding friends, a demanding spouse, things that you're called to do, volunteering work that you're not necessarily into that causes you stress? Let's just retake that out of this dream for this moment. Now, is there anything that causes you anxiety? Are there any health issues that may be there? Are there any worries, financial trouble, anything like that? Let's just take it out, remove it. That doesn't belong here. This is a place of peace that we want to create. Now, are there any dreaded responsibilities that you have? So many of us have a hard time saying no, and then we get overburdened with too many responsibilities. So let's clean the slate right now. Let's just take those off the plate right now. We want to bring in peace. We want to bring in joy. Now, is that something that causes you stress? That's something, let's take that out right now. You don't have to be at that job right now. We're creating your dream. Now, are there any voices that you hear? People saying, you can't do that. You won't work. That's silly. That's stupid. Who are you to think that you have possibilities outside of what you're doing? And especially that might be your voice. If that's the loudest voice you hear, let's hush it for now. Let's bring in positive voice. So what I'd like you to do now that we discovered, taking away all that negativity, let's start building a dream. Let's start bringing in the things that bring you joy. Where would you be? What would you be doing? What would you bring into your life to support you? Who would you bring into your life to support you? Who are those encouraging voices? Who are those people in your life that say, I don't know what you're doing, but I am so proud of you. I want to encourage you. Those encouragers, those people in your life that believe in what you're doing, bring them in. And if you don't have any, make them up, because we're going to start attracting those kind of people into your life. Now, it's important to bring in all your senses. Do you have a favorite scent? Do you have a favorite smell? Do you have a favorite candle scent that you have? Think about that now. Just breathe in, breathe deeply. And now I want you to start thinking about what drives you. What motivates you? What brings you joy? What comes easily to you? What makes you forget to eat? Now, what kind of job would you be doing? Would you be working for a small company? Or would you be working for a big company? Would you be starting your own company? And if so, what kind of company would that be? What would you be selling? Would you be selling a product, or would you be selling a service? Or would you be freelancing? Would you do something like writing or photography? Or any other sort of thing that you could be freelancing? Is that something that you've dreamt about, something that you've thought about, but you said, oh no, I could never do that because of this, that, or the other reason? We're going to do that today. We're going to imagine what your life will be like doing all those things that have popped into your mind from one time to another to say, what would it be like if I did that? Let's bring that alive. Let's water that. Now, how would you spend your free time? Would you be traveling? Or would you be relaxing on a beach? Would you feel that sand beneath your toes? Feel that sun on your skin? Or would you be playing in the ocean? Would you be flapping around? Would you be on the boogie board? Would you be playing with your kids? What would you be doing if you're a beach person? Or perhaps you're a lake person. Would you be sitting on the dock or in your boat, motoring around, water skiing, playing with your kids? Or perhaps just sitting on the dock or on the porch drinking a margarita? Would you be reading a book? If so, what kind of book would you read? Would you be hiking? If you're hiking, just imagine the contours of the ground, just the leaf. Think of the leaves that are crinkling as you walk by. And smell that mountain air. Just take a big, deep breath in. And then imagine yourself at the top of the mountain and looking over the vista and saying, yes, I did this. Or do you enjoy riding a bike? Are you a cyclist? If so, imagine yourself on that race. Or imagine yourself just riding your bike leisurely. Or you might mountain biker. Who would you be with? Who would be joining you on this? Who do you want with you? Start visualizing that. Enjoy, think about the laughter and the joy and how you'd feel at the end of this. Imagine how you feel at the end of the day on the beach or at the lake. How would you feel? What would you be doing? And then you're walking into the house at the end of the day. What kind of smells? What food would be being made? What's your favorite food? Perhaps somebody's making that food for you. What's that one food that you are like, when somebody says they're making it, it just makes you jump up and say yes. Imagine that food. Or perhaps if it's something you make in a restaurant, maybe you start taking a cooking class and you learn how to make it. And you learn about all the ingredients and all the things and what it does for your body and how healthy it makes you. And imagine yourself making it for other people to give them the kind of joy that it brings you. Where would you live? Would it be a big neighborhood? Or would you be in a smaller neighborhood? Or would you be in a city with bustle of the city, with everything going on, with the theater, with the restaurants, and with all of the things that go along with the city, the museums, the art? Or sometimes, is that too much for you? Is that something that causes you stress? Maybe you're somebody that loves to live in the country. You love to go and on long country walks and look at the goats and the cows and the horses and everything nature has to offer. Is that what brings you peace? Is that what brings you joy? Is that where you want to be in your dream? Who would you be talking to? What kind of people would be around you? What kind of community would you be building around you? Now, I'd like to move into, who would you be serving? You know, when we are in alignment with who we're meant to serve, it just brings us alive. Would you want to be working with children? Or perhaps working with the elderly? Or rescuing dogs? Or have you always had a call in your life to do missionary work? I'd like you to now picture the faces of the people you would be serving. And imagine the smiles on their face when they realize that you have taken time out of your busy schedule to serve them, to help make their lives a better place. Who would be supporting you in this dream? Who would be traveling with you? Who would you be volunteering with? Maybe it's a different set of people. Maybe you have people who you work with, people who you do community work, people who you volunteer with. Maybe these are all different people or the same people. Who would you be serving with? Just think about calling them and saying, okay, let's do it. We've been talking about this forever. Let's actually go do it. Imagine yourself making that call to that friend. Now, I'd like to fast forward you to your retirement. Where would you be? What would you be doing? Would you be at the beach or back at the lake? Or would you be traveling? Do you see yourself on a plane going from one place to the other, going to the cruise ships, going and exploring those exotic places you've read about on the travel blogs but never had a chance to go to? Is this your time to do that? Or are you somebody who really would like to stay home, cook a lot of food, have all the grandkids, and have your place be that gathering place for their grandkids? Or will you have multiple homes? Where would you be volunteering? What legacy would you be leaving? When it's time for you to pass on from this earth, when they think of your name, what do you want them to say? What do you want them to think? How will it make them feel? How you impacted their lives? Now what I'd like you to do is open your eyes and think about that dream. Imagine you living the life that we just described. Now, my question to you is your current life path that you're on going to take you to what you saw in that dream? And if not, maybe it's time to do something about that. And maybe it's time to make some changes. So one of the things I would like you to do when you're done listening to this, I'd like you to write down what you visualized. The quicker you do it, the easier. You don't want to forget anything. We brought a lot into this. First, jot it down. And then what you can do is you can go and make a vision board. And you can go cut out pictures of what you saw and put it up someplace so you can't forget your dream. And then importantly, remember we talked about tribe. What you need to do is you need to share this with your friends. And what's happened so frequently when I've taken other people through this exercise, they call their girlfriends. You know, when you have that dinner party, do this with them. You can do this. You know, you can do an abbreviated version of it, but you can do this with them because then you can all share your dreams with each other. And then you can start encouraging each other and keeping each other accountable. So with that, I would like to close. And if anybody has any questions or any feedback, I'd be more than happy to take it.
Absolutely wonderful, Karen. Thank you so much for that amazing presentation. You always inspire me with the energy that you bring to every presentation you give. And what's really intriguing about this particular presentation is you've literally guided us and given us a step-by-step process to visualize where we want to be. Now, I know that everything you teach, you have done this for yourself in the past. My question for you is, what were the manifestations that you created for yourself using this process?
Well, everything. Standing here, I have to tell you, saying yes. I'm getting all excited just talking about it. But because it was about 3 months before I met you that I was taken through this exercise. So everything, I'm living my best life right now. And it started doing this exercise. And it was just literally, she said, okay, let's take you through your dream. You're like, yeah, okay, I can do this. And before I knew it, because as I'm taking you through that, of course, I'm taking you through my dream. So I relive my dream every time I do this because I'm an adventure girl and I love to go and try new things. And so every time I go into that retirement, I always think about every place that I'll fly to and the adventures that I'll go on. And remembering all those National Geographics I read growing up. And part of what I'm doing right now is because of you and because of this whole, the whole Herstory Circle family is I have so many friends in Australia and New Zealand because of you. I have friends all around the globe. So I get to do that before retirement.
I love it. I love it. And you're literally walking around the world on a virtual stage, connecting with women from all over the world. We've got Miriam coming in from Sydney. You might have bumped into her at the last summit. She's saying great energy,
hey,
Karen.
Hi. Yeah, good to see you again.
Absolutely wonderful. And we've got Andrea with us on the panel. Andrea, introduce yourself. Just tell everybody where you are. Give us some feedback for Karen, please.
Oh, I came in right in the middle of it all, but I really, I'm buzzing because I've just come off of my Bible study for an hour and a half. And I said, I got to get off. They wanted to go on for another half an hour. I said, no, I've got to go get on the summit because I missed it last night. I tried to get on. I'm actually in Liverpool, England.
Oh, you are? Okay, great.
Yeah. Yes. It was 10:20. So, but, this is my second year, or second opportunity to be with Gertrude, and she and I have been friends for 15 years. We met in Dubai, and we've got our journey. It's like this and that. And but I really loved what you were talking about. Everything that you were saying is exactly what I need to be doing right now, that I'm doing right now. I'm going through this process, a new venture in my life. And as I shared with the girls the last time, I got engaged and I met a new man and blah, blah, blah. Oh yeah. But it's gone like this, and it's going up and down and up and down. And I've had to,
you mean life happened?
I've had to kick his ass to the curb, girls. I'm sorry.
Hey, I did that with number 2, so I hear you.
But it's okay, because he's come back today, and he's learning for the first time at 72, because he thought that he's been in love before, and he's saying that I've taught him how to love and how to really be in love and feel love. It's not all about, shagging my bones, for a long time and all that kind of crap. I said, let's talk about, just the real thing. And as one of the other ladies was sharing, probably earlier, I think last week, and we were talking about how infectious is a smile, how infectious is a look in your eye, and just giving love, and that is one of the things that we have, that we shared with Gertrude, is that we have these infectious energy and zest for life. And I love life.
It's contagious. It's absolutely contagious.
And you share that. And my best friend came today and brought me 3 new chairs. And he said, hey, Andre, I'm sorry I couldn't bring you more. And I'm like, no. I said, my boyfriend, now he's my boyfriend. He's not my fiance anymore. But anyway, he's so jealous. He said, but he doesn't understand that you give the energy that you put out. You just give people love unconditionally. And we want to give it back, And that's all we're here to do. I'm a professional. My profession now is that I sing. I've had the good fortune to travel the world, to 33 countries with my beautiful voice. And so my motto is, if I touch one person's heart a day, I've done my job, because God loves us, and God has given us the gift. Oh, I got chills.
Yes, agape. And we're here for agape love, right?
Agape, very agape. And the ethos of life is to just touch people's hearts and give the other people permission to bring out the best in themselves. And that is all we can do.
And, and it doesn't even need to be in words. That's one of the things. Sometimes, it's, in fact, I work with a lot of faith groups as well, and I call it presence evangelism, because I'm like, you know what? When they see that light in you, then they'll say, what is that? Where does that light come from? Exactly. Rather than, shoving it down people's throat. That's not agape love.
No.
I could do a whole nother talk on that.
Okay. Well, I think we need to connect.
Yes, we totally need to connect. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Gertrude will pass out all that information on to me, because
I will connect you ladies.
Please. And where are you at, may I ask?
I'm in Greenville, South Carolina, in the U.S.
Oh, well, honey, I'm from Pensacola, Florida.
Oh, okay. Yeah, right down the road.
Girlfriend, and I'm coming home on the 28th of March. And I'm going to be home for a whole month, so maybe we can hook up.
Oh my gosh, that would be wonderful. The world is so small. It really is.
I know. It's the first time I'm coming home in 8 years.
Really? Wow.
Yes. I'm so excited. Oh, God.
Oh, that would be great.
Oh, this is awesome. Well, we definitely have to click.
We definitely have to. This is great.
Yes.
I just love this group.
Thank you, Gertrude, for letting me be on tonight. This is awesome.
Thank you for coming and being with us. We've got another comment from Mary Ann saying, you two are like twins. Your energy levels are so similar.
Well, we have the same kind of energy, but just for as soon as I start, Miss Gertrude, you just join me. Okay, because this is one of those moments where we just have to go. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now found, was blind, and now I see. I've been gagging
to dancer too, so I can't sit still when I hear that.
I've been gagging to bust out in tune all through this whole summit.
Oh my gosh, that's great.
That is just awesome, ladies. Karen, I love what you're doing. I can see the power of it. I can see this spreading throughout the universe. So you and I need to connect, because what I'm going to do is go back and watch this video again. I'll take it apart. I'll give you some feedback, and we're going to get you on that TED platform. You are just amazing.
Thank
Your
you.
energy is infectious.
Thank you for coming into my life and changing lives around the globe. I mean, you really are. You're doing a wonderful thing, and we love you.
Isn't she just?
Thank you, Karen. Thank you so much. This was awesome. So Karen will be back later on, maybe next week. We'll hear from her again. So one of the things that the Her Story movement does is really support women, articulate and share their stories. We give you feedback. We just help you really refine it so that when you go out and you pitch yourself to platforms like TED, your presentation lands and it spreads across the globe. So I'm excited to be working with you, Karen. This was awesome.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Be blessed, everyone. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. We'll see you next week.
You.
All right, bye.
Yes. Bye.
Have a great weekend.
You too. So it's up to you and me, Miss Andrea. Are you ready to share your story today?
Of course. That was wonderful. Perfect timing. Wow. The ladies writing down here like we're like twins.
That you are. You definitely have the same energy as Karen. I love it.
Oh, you know what? I'm so inspired. You know, we've been talking about this for years, about writing my book and writing my book and writing my books,
Yes.
not book, books. And
yes.
I think that the time has actually really come now. But what's really wonderful is because after listening to all the women through the last couple of weeks, you know, it has given me the opportunity also to tap in and remember, you know, what I've done and what I haven't done and what I haven't shared. I've shared about the fact that I was an addict and all of that, but I haven't shared that I literally have been in the restaurant business since I was like 8 years old, because my uncle owned the steakhouse and we used to have to go pick out the prize bulls in the fairs. And so I kind of grew up in the restaurant business. And although singing was my forte, when I got married, I opened my first restaurant in New York City when I was 20 years old. And in 5 years, we opened. Well, we had the first restaurant was like probably the size of your kitchen, or maybe half the size of your kitchen. And then we opened the second one 5 years later. And the minute I put my hands on dotted line, we were millionaires. And that was just like, oh my God. So we went from a 5-table restaurant to a 40-table restaurant, 4 blocks away from the University of Texas, an overnight success. And it was just amazing. And I really, really love that. And hearing all these ladies has enabled me to go back and remember all the wonderful things that I've done in my life instead of, you know, just talking about that. So
that's just amazing.
I'm inspired. I'm I'm absolutely, totally plugged.
All right. So I'm going to exit the stage and give you 15 minutes to share your story. And then
Ah,
I'll come back on and we'll have a little discussion and we will take your story apart and give you some feedback, okay? So the
that would be
stage is
nice.
yours.
Oh, thank you.
There we
Again, all right. Good evening, ladies. I am so excited to be here. My name is Andrea. Well, my name is Andromachi Georgiadis, which is a Greek name, but I have been, as an artist, I was married to someone with the name of Brown, so I became Andrea Brown, and so that is what I go by. I'm from Pensacola, Florida. I was born and raised in the United States. And I was raised, unfortunately, with an alcoholic father. And so I was physically and sexually abused. And I'm a survivor of all that. And as a result of that, I became a drug addict. Got involved in drugs, and I was a drug addict for 14 years. And on June 18th, I'm going to celebrate 41 years of being clean and 33 years of being sober. I had the good fortune of going through treatment for 27 months, so I was very blessed to have had that opportunity. But since then, I have worked with healers from all over the globe, and everywhere you go in the world, it seems like when you're in the drug world, you attract that. When you're in the recovery world, then you attract that. When you're on a spiritual journey, then you attract that. So in the last many years, I've been on a spiritual journey, but being clean and sober doesn't necessarily mean that it's been a wonderful, easy life, you know. Unfortunately, as a result of being so codependent, I have gotten involved with men. My first husband was verbally and psychologically abusive, not physically, but the verbal and psychological abuse was horrific. So unfortunately, then I got out of that, and then again manifested a healthy relationship, which was very difficult because I didn't know how to behave. I didn't know how to act. However, something that's very difficult, and a lot of women have talked about death, mourning, depression, anxiety attacks, anxiety. My father became ill 32 years ago, 34 years ago, and I was told by a psychic 2 years prior to that he was going to be ill, how he was going to be sick, he would have bone cancer, and that he would suffer. But I had 2 years to go and forgive him. So I had to forgive a man who had started beating me at 5 years old, tying me to the bedpost and beating me. What does a 5-year-old little girl do to deserve that? So I went on and I worked with healers, and went into the subconscious and did all the necessary work that I needed to do to heal and forgive. And when I went home to take care of him and to be there for him, he was very brutal and said to me that he didn't want me to be there. And why was I there? And I'm compelled to share this because I think it's quite important, because a lot of people don't have the ability to forgive. And forgiveness is so important, and especially for ourselves. So I said to him, I love you. I'm your oldest child, your firstborn, and I have forgiven you. And I'm here because I want to be here, and I love you. But I didn't let him off the hook, because in Greek, they say, whatever you do on this earth, you pay for. And he had bone cancer, which was a horrific, painful experience. So I said, for every time you hurt your sister, now you pay. For every time you hurt my mother, now you pay. And for taking my innocence away from me, and for every time you put your hands on me, now you pay. So please shut your mouth and do not say another word. I do not want to hear you complain. So I don't know if that was right or wrong, but revenge is not necessarily a wonderful thing, but you have to be extremely patient and not be vindictive and ugly, and know that God, whatever your higher power or faith is, will always bring the circle around and give you the opportunity to get free from that. So I don't know why I'm sharing this tonight, but I just felt compelled to do that. So that has been my, I think, my salvation, that I have the ability that I've learned very, very young from my grandmother, that people of all ages are children. And when you talk to their hearts, you will always get through. And since I've been living in England for the last 25 years on and off, I'm saying, I like to meet the Queen, because when the Queen, if she comes off and says something sideways to me, I'm just going to say, well, how did that make you feel, honey? So please forgive me. But, and then my father died, but that was expected. And then 13 months later, my baby brother was killed, 35 years young, on a motorcycle in 3.5 seconds, however. So that absolutely took half of my life away from me. And I was very blessed, because they were fighting over money and all these kind of things, because we used to own a big restaurant, and it should have been left for the family. So I had the opportunity to leave and go to Italy with my friends and open a restaurant there. And that is where I began to have the freedom to be me, to do one of my passions, which is cooking and running restaurants. But that is where I actually started my singing career. And from that day on, I have traveled 33 countries, singing my way around the world. And I've had an amazing, amazing life. But not without a lot of complications, not without a lot of stress, not without a lot of learning, not without a lot of learning experiences, but healing, spiritual healing, Reiki, reflexology, crystal healing, pranic healing, all of the modems of healing that is out there, I've learned and I've worked with. And I think that that is also one of my saving graces, that I have been gifted to be able to help people, not only through my music, but especially through my music, but also with the healing. And I think that when you have that ability to reach and to give somebody a comfort, and then they give you permission, and they break down all their walls and let you in, then you can help them. So I think that that is probably the most important thing that I am here for, is to share my experience, my hope, my fears, my love, and to help people to learn to be unconditional. Because especially in this country, and the English people have difficulties with that. So anyway, so I'm going to wrap this up. I want to say thank you so much to Gertrude for what she's doing, and that all of the women that I have been watching, from the first one last year and this one earlier this year, and this one has been absolutely amazing. And through all this, one of my dreams is to be a platform speaker as well. So I've had 34 years experience of singing, entertaining. So I think that once I can actually hone what it is that I want to, the message that I have in a format, then I would love to be able to do this. So is my 15 minutes up? If not, I would just want to say thank you again, Gertrude.
Thank you. Thank you for coming on and sharing your story with us today. You're absolutely,
I got chills.
You are amazing. And I'm really excited to be working with you this year and finally birthing this book. You and I have been talking about the writing of your book for 15 years. And we're finally going to do it. I'm really excited that you're ready now. I call myself the book midwife.
Yes.
I'm trying to show up for people when they are ready to birth their stories. And I promise the delivery of this new baby will be effortless and fun and easy. I can see we've got Beverly Holt chiming in on Facebook. Beverly, I'm looking forward to catching up with you later today. Marianne was also giving you some feedback. She said that was really beautiful, Andrea. Thank you so, so much.
Thank you.
You know, you touched on the subject of forgiveness. A lot of times people don't realize that when you forgive the other, it does more for you than the other person. Tell me what forgiveness has done for you in, I guess, releasing you from the burden of carrying the anger, the hurt. Give us a little bit of an insight of what that has done for you spiritually.
Well, let me just, I didn't finish that what happened after Daddy died and then when Gus got killed. Then my mother got sick and she died and I took care of her. And then I got pregnant and then I had my baby and my baby died. So forgiveness, that, and I screamed to God and I said, dear Jesus, how much more do I have to prove my love, my faith? And he turned back to me and said, how much more do I have to prove? Mm-hmm. So I know that forgiveness is the only way to righteousness. There is the only way that we can survive all of the isms that happen to us, all of the things that happen. I'm ADD, I'm ADHD, you know, I'm just, you know what I'm like. I'm hyper all over the place all the time. People don't understand, you know, people go, oh, when I do a gig and I sing, oh, she's so wonderful. Well, try living with her for 24 hours a day because it's very difficult. So I have to be forgiving and I have to be consistent with that. You see, you can't just do one for one person and one for the other. We have to be consistent. So I am consistent with that forgiveness because it has saved me and filled up the empty places inside of me that have not always been easy. And none of this has been easy.
And well, it's very, very moving. You've been through a lot in your life. And now I really get to understand how you spiraled into that cycle of addiction. And yeah, you've come a long way. And what's beautiful is your story is going to be the light at the end of the tunnel for somebody else. I can feel it. I can really feel it. And that's what we aim to do, right? We aim to transmute our pain into gold because everything you've gone through can become the light at the end of another woman's tunnel. Somebody who's going through exactly what you went through, your story will lift them up and show them that there's hope, there's life afterwards.
Absolutely.
And that you get to make a choice whether you want to stay stuck in that space or you want to move on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's why I always am very open and share about my addiction, because you never know who is suffering in silence. You never know whose husband is an alcoholic or drug addict and beating her to death, and she's sitting there with this smile on her face, and yet she's just absolutely dying inside. And sometimes it's absolutely so beautiful, because it's like the universe just brings them close, just brings them to me, just brings them to us, not to just me, but to you and to all of us.
Yeah.
You know, this is happening, just like I said the last time, I think, when I was speaking. It always reminds me of Gandhi rolling his silk threads, and these little threads are going through the world, and we're all going, passing each other, and then sometimes we click.
Yes.
Like you and I did.
Yeah.
And here we are 15 years later.
We weave that tapestry of magic. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can
And
so
it is
feel
magic. And it is magic.
Yeah.
It's magic.
Oh, I love you, Andrea. I love you. I am just so excited that you're ready to do the work, and we will get your book out there and share your story with the world. Thank you for gracing us with your beautiful story today.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Oh, wow. You know, when I wake up every morning, I am never sure how my day is going to unravel, what kind of stories I'm going to be able to share with the world and touch other people's hearts and souls. And so this is what makes me wake up and do what I do every single day. You can hear that my voice is not very good today. I'm actually not feeling very well. So I've had to prepare some videos just to preserve my voice and try and recuperate. But thank you to everybody who's tuned in so far. We're going to end the rest of the day with a series of 3 videos that are connected back to back. Sit back and enjoy. I had to do it to try and preserve my voice and be able to show up again tomorrow. And Andrea, I know it's late there in the UK. It's probably almost 11 o'clock. I know if you need to go, you have to go.
Okay.
But thank you.
Well,
Absolutely I will have you today.
Thank you. I will send you some healing for your.
I need it. I need it. Thank you.
I will. Okay, so if you lose me, don't worry. I'll stay as long as I can. Good night, everybody, and thank you so much. God bless you.
Thank you, sweetie. Take care.
God bless.
Oh man. Okay, so we will move on. I might have to fast track the next video and make sure it's in the right place. We'll see how we go here.
11 months.
A show that educates. Tell us a little.
That was really good, Andrea. Proud of you.
My full name is Pan Sandamian, and my age is late 20s. And I am originally from Yangon, Myanmar, and I'm the first Rohingya beauty pageant in the history. And my normal day-to job is migration consultant, and I am also a Rohingya human rights coordinator.
Fantastic. So you came to Australia how many years ago?
A decade ago, since 2009.
Okay. And your work as an activist, now you're working as in human rights.
tell us a little bit about your country, your history, and what got you to this point to be an activist.
To be honest, it's actually my blood, because my paternal grandfather is the first Rohingya Masia who has saved the first Rohingya genocide in 1958, along with his university students, East Pakistan Governor Zakir Hussain. We are the most persecuted ethnicity in the whole world. The reason is because Rohingya is the only ethnicity that faced genocide, not only one, not two, 3 times. And after I have never seen my grandfather, but whenever I go hang out in my relative place, everybody saw me and they are like, "You look like your grandfather." And even though I haven't seen such great person, but I always been inspired by his story. And most of the time, my family, they never come forward in the activism. The reason is because we are very vulnerable ethnicity, and if we try to speak up, most of the time our voice has been shut by the extremists.
Now, a lot of people don't really know the history of Myanmar, and I really want this show to be a show that educates people, that tells the real story of what goes on the ground. Can you take us back a little bit to how the genocide has been perpetuated year after year? What is the conflict? What is actually happening on the ground?
I don't know about the ground, but I grew up in my country. Most of the time, actually, I am also the first, the first Rohingya who came in public. I used to have a Burmese passport, and I also finished my high school in Burmese school, well-known high school, Augustine. Most of the time, a lot of authority will say Rohingya are not our citizen. But I'm the first one who got a passport, and I came in public. Burma is a very beautiful country under English colony time. I think we are the first country that has got a railway, which go from Yangon to Kolkata, India. And a lot of Southeast Asian, they came to Burma to do work, to do job. But when it go under military power, the country become really, we are not even developing at all. And also, and most of the time people think that Rohingya is an Islamophobia issue. No, it's actually more than that. Because in our Rohingya, we also have Buddhist Rohingya as well. We also have Hindu Rohingya as well. We also have Christian Rohingya as well. The majority is Muslim.
Okay. Conflict is not just religious. There's multiple layers to it.
Exactly. And also another fascinating story is Rohingya is an Indo-Aryan ethnicity. So the Indo-Aryan ethnicity majority came from India.
Right.
But one English divider, we came under Burma. So our history is very similar to vulnerable ethnicity like Kashmiri, Armenian, and Assyrian. And these country, these people, we live at the border and we face this kind of issues.
Yeah, it looks like colonialism did a lot of damage in terms of how countries were divided, people were divided, their ethnicities, their languages, their cultures, their tribes were highlighted. These are things that didn't happen before colonialism. Do you think that anything will ever change in the way the world is right now?
This is a very challenging question because nowadays the world is facing COVID-19 already. A lot of countries are going through suffering a lot just to save from each other as well. We are not going out, and it will happen, but everybody need to be united. And because nowadays I think everyone is just like facing too much problem each corner of the world.
Yeah.
And also in Myanmar, people are facing not only military coup, but also COVID-19, and also lacking of food as well. And they cannot go out. Even if they go out, it's risky, and they cannot save, money, and lack of money. So they are facing so much problem as well over there.
The challenges are multiple. Now, as an activist doing what you are trying to do from the outside, tell us a little bit about what your organization does.
Our organization is helping especially the Rohingya refugees in the Rohingya camp, to help them to develop their arts. Nowadays, I'm trying to write a poetry book with 3 Rohingya refugees, just to give them a platform where they can tell their story through poems.
Mm-hmm. Why is storytelling so powerful, do you think, to change these imbalances in the world?
Basically, what I've noticed is we are facing genocide quite a long time back. Luckily, thankful to technology, people can see the pictures, videos, how they are facing.
Yeah.
So that's why I think the storytelling is very important. Without these pictures, video, people would not know what's going on in a corner of the world.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's crucial that a light is shined on all of these issues. So
that's true as well. If we look at like recent incident, Black Lives Matter, it becomes so powerful because the lady, she did a video, and it just all corner part of the world, everybody started speaking up.
Yeah.
That's why I think the storytelling is very important.
And the power of social media to disseminate the stories as well, right? I'm hoping that as we're having this conversation, there's somebody in another part of the world who didn't know anything about Myanmar, who didn't know anything about the Rohingya people, will be educated today and maybe go online and do some research and actually see what it is you're talking about. Because you're right, the images are out there. Everybody's got a cell phone. Everybody can report these issues now. So at least things are not just in a dark box and people are suffering in silence without being seen and without being heard. So if you were a magician and you could solve this problem that is happening in your homeland, what do you think the solution is?
I think the solution is, if I've got a magic, I want to suck all the hatred of everybody so that they can unite back and they can start loving each other, being kind toward each other. I just want to suck all the kindness, all the hatred only. I think that's the only thing missing in that country.
And hatred comes from a lack of understanding, a lack of really knowing the other person, a lack of empathy and sympathy, correct?
I think it's basically about the power.
Okay.
So it's just like the extremists, they just want to get more and more powerful. I think that's the only issue that, I can say in my point of view.
Yeah. Power does corrupt people.
Yes, and also this is related with a case study that I studied in business management. I don't remember the case study very well, where, the management and the staff, if they don't have, face together or interrelated together, the another person keep putting more, like punishment if they make small mistakes.
Right.
I think this is what going on in that part of the world. I think all the religious, all the powerful people, they should reunite, try to understand each other, sit down each other. What are the problems that is causing them, and sort of the solutions.
And some of these historic incidents that have been going on for centuries. I mean, this is not a story from yesterday. you talk about the multiple genocides that have happened there, and nothing much is changing. So for the people who are here in Australia, how are you experiencing life here? How are the refugee community received?
Basically, most of the time, actually, whoever in Australia right now, the Rohingya, I would say they are the first generation. So they are not like second or third generation yet.
Right.
They are still come in Australia. They are trying to survive, trying to make their life. And most of the time, as Australian lifestyle is also very hard as well. In here, whenever you work, you do office job 9 to 5. Then if you are family, you go busy in looking after the kids and everything. So people don't have much time for contribute back to the community.
Okay.
There's also a challenging that I saw in my community as well. And another thing I saw is most of the time, there are also some Rohingya out there who are having a stable life, good life.
Yes.
But they never come and speak up. The reason is because they just only, scared from this kind of extremist issues, and that's why it create more and more, issues
and division amongst people.
Yep, and also most of the time we also have our family, some of our relatives back in our country. We also need to think about their safety as well and their issues as well.
So you can't be seen to be doing too much publicly with the fear that family back home will be affected, correct?
Exactly.
That's very challenging. That is very challenging. So based on what this whole life experience has taught you, if you were to go back to the younger you, when you were leaving your home country, coming to Australia, what nuggets of wisdom would you have given that young woman? I'm saying this because there might be another young woman from your country who's just arrived in Australia, doesn't know where to start. The language is different. The food is different. The culture, everything is different. What 3 nuggets of wisdom would you give that young woman so she can fit in nicely?
The first one is never give up. Australia is a great country where you get full human rights. And number second one is whenever you see any injustice, try to speak up. And number third one will be never, stop dreaming.
That's awesome.
Be a good human being.
Now, I know that you and your family have now kind of settled. Life is kind of looking good. You're an entrepreneur. Do you want to talk a little bit about your entrepreneurial life as a source of inspiration for others who might be thinking of, what else can I do with my life?
That's actually a good question. I remember when I came here, actually I got medicine in my country, but I don't want to study there.
Okay.
Because I faced some kind of racism issue also in my classroom as well. So that's why I always wanted to go to abroad. That's why I came to Australia. Because in my school, if they found out that I'm Muslim, Hindu, or Christian, they used to tease us like kalama, which is in a Hindi word in Urdu, it means black.
Okay.
In Arabic or in Persian, it means hala. So that's why we faced that kind of thing. And I was like, I don't want to study further there. And I came to Australia. And the golden time doesn't last that long. Then I lost my father. And a few issues happened. Then after that, I didn't give up. Me, my family, my mom and my brother, we used to do 2 to 3 jobs just to get, a home and settle down. So it was quite hardship and also beautiful journey as well. So That's why I told a girl, whenever you are a girl, it doesn't mean that you are weak. You're actually stronger than a man.
I love that.
And
Wow.
most of the time, this thing I learned from my mom, an embracing woman is stronger than a strong woman because she spread love, kindness, and love. That's why an embracing woman is always stronger than a strong woman.
Your
So,
mother sounds like an amazing role model for you.
yes, she is. She has done a lot for me. I remember in our culture, because we are Muslim, most of the time, whenever girl finished high school or going to university, they get married straight away. But my mom didn't let me. She sent me to abroad, and she, motivated my father. Let her go study more. So that's why she's been my backbone.
Yeah.
And I learned a lot from her as well.
And it's just amazing. Very, very inspiring story. They say that we stand on the shoulders of giants. It's the women who have come before us who make us the women that we are now, correct?
Yes.
Wonderful, wonderful. What a beautiful tribute to your mom. So let's now take you to the future as my last question to you. Actually, second last question. If you could look at your life at the age of 100,
Okay.
when you are sitting in your rocking chair with your grandchildren and reflecting back on all of the amazing things you've managed to do, what would you say to the future you if time was an illusion and you could teleport into the future?
Can I get the question again? The last part, I didn't get it.
If time was an illusion, like time didn't exist, and I could take you into your future, and you could have a conversation with you, the older woman, you, when you're 100 years old, and you've lived this amazing life, what would you say to yourself?
I would tell to myself, I'm being grateful that I never give up, even though I face a lot of hardship. Without your vision, I wouldn't be here today.
That's beautiful. And the amazing thing is, time is an illusion. Your future self is already there waiting for you to catch up with her. I do this a lot when I go into meditation, when I'm trying to work something out. I see the vision of where I want to go, and I have those conversations with the future me. I ask myself, how did we do this? What's my next step? And she will guide you there. So good luck with everything you're doing. Is there any question I should have asked you that I missed out?
Not really. You asked quite a lot. It covered a lot.
That's awesome. So this was a good interview. I've done a good job. Thank you so much for coming online and gracing us with your presence. Thank you to everybody who was online and listening to us this morning. The world's problems are very, very small. It's when we share the stories of our plights, our joy, our trials and tribulations, that we open up the doors into other worlds. Every single person you meet is a door. And I really thank you, Pan, for taking us to Myanmar, making us understand the challenges of your people. And good luck with your work as a human rights coordinator. I am so honored to have met you and excited that you'll be taking part in our next online summit. And you will bring the poetry of the people from your country to our platform as well, so we have a better understanding of what's happening there.
Sure. Thank you so much.
My name is Venus Morris Griffin. I am from Augusta, Georgia. I live in Augusta, Georgia for the last 30 years. I am 49, a good wife when it's all good, right? When everything is perfect. But you see really who you are during the tough times. And I said, you know what? I'm going to show my children